I'm Shane Nyland, and my co-host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004. This is part 2 with Ben Thibeault of Rainmaker Platoon. Yeah, there's a lot of moments where you had to make it up on the fly, right? Calling the wrecker, number one, there was only one wrecker.
Right.
And so it could have easily been on a different mission.
Right.
We actually just recently talked to one of the people who was assigned to the wrecker from the Army, and she was saying that they were going as far as TQ Air Base and Fallujah, and like they were going crazy long distance covering with this one wrecker. That was the only wrecker. So sometimes when we were evacing our Humvees, it was up to us to pull them out with, like you said, tow straps, chains. We made shit up on the fly.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So yeah, trying to evac stuff out of there.
Right.
I do remember that specifically with Holmes and Hurley, when they got hit, that vehicle was not able to move on its own. I don't know if the engine was down. I don't remember what happened, but we did tow it back because the wrecker never came.
Right. I think it got hit. I want to say we were going up as we made a turn, we were going up almost like an embankment or something. And that's where it seemed like it got hit. So it got stuck on a ledge or whatnot, I believe.
Yeah, maybe.
And it was completely, I want to say destroyed in a way, but it wasn't getting out on its own.
Yeah, the only thing I remember me personally when we got out there was the power lines were down, and it was the high voltage lines, and they were crackling everywhere. And I was sure we were going to barbecue a Marine and have to deal with that problem. But I don't remember that. You did mention Savage getting hit. It sounds like you were there for that mission as well. Savage was on May 12th. Do you happen to remember anything specifically from that day?
Yeah, we were out, and obviously, I believe it was, the fourth truck out, and then I remember Savage. I can just distinctly see him sitting on top of the up armor, like as he always would. He just didn't fear anything, it seemed, but he was just sitting up there, and all of a sudden, just boom, that sound, and you couldn't see shit because it's just a cloud of smoke, and then. We were down there. We didn't get any communication for at least 20 minutes in the back. And next thing you know, Savage has a small, I want to say a quarter size shrapnel just hit the right part of his back, and that was it. And we had to get him the hell out. And we were down there for a specific amount of time. And I can't remember. Aponte was, I believe, my team leader at that time, and we had to sit down for extra. Making sure that there was rumors that there was more IEDs in the area, so we were waiting for the engineers to come out and sweep. So we were out there for a little bit longer, I believe.
Okay.
And then it seemed at that point where we had no idea what was going on, even after I think after Savage was evac'd out, and I didn't find out until he passed, until we got back to the hooch, maybe 3 or 4 hours later, that they told me we had to go back down to the motor pool to kind of redo the trucks, make sure that, more armor. Then they said that Savage had not made it. So that was a pretty rough day, specifically. That hit pretty hard, just because we just went through this with Dan and Hurley, and it just, like, that was 3 weeks apart. And I couldn't believe it was happening again. And this was just, taking these vehicles, through these almost like IED alleys, it seemed, and without any kind of SOP to remedy it. So yeah, that was a moment. At that point, it was like, all right, what the hell? We're not gonna have any vehicles left, nor anybody, willing to want to go out anymore. But yeah, so that was tough. And then I don't know if it was that close by that moment, but one day we were like this by early in the morning. I don't know if it was in June or some point, but we were going to combat outpost for some reason. And again, one of those nobody's out kind of thing. So we're driving the outpost. We're there for about a good hour. We come back, and then we had passed a car underneath the bridge on Michigan that obviously we didn't really pay much attention to that one specific car. And then we come back, and that car's still there. And all of a sudden, that thing it was Waddy's vehicle and Ackles, and then behind us in the back, and that thing it blew like a VBIED just blew. I thought the truck in front of us got decimated, like it was just gone. And we got out, dismounted. Hodges had said he saw the people up in the alleyway, up in the high rises, and we had taken cover and clearing, taking whatever needed to be taken care of. But I just specifically remember that moment where that VBIED just blew, and that truck, and thank God no one, and it ended up being, it just missed completely. But it hit the Iraqi that was walking next to it.
Yeah.
Hit him, and so he got the brunt of it. But yeah, it was an unscathed for us moment. So that really, once that was the first VBIED I'd seen that close to, and we're still facing outboard, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, and that finally changed, I believe, later on. But yeah, that outboard stuff was a little. Now thinking back, I just can't believe we did that.
Right.
But no choice. I mean, that was it. But it was.
Well, that's actually a good point. So you, at least 2 times in 2 weeks, you had seen huge IEDs and huge, and you saw 1 KIA and 2 major casualties, multiple major casualties. I mean, multiple people were wounded in all those vehicles. What did you do differently after that? Did you personally do anything differently? Did you sit differently? Did you try?
I think we ended up having to face inboard. I think they put higher. I want to say they never put like the plywood up. I remember I listened to Dobbs story about the plywood on top of it. I didn't realize when you said that that was for the gunner to turn around and sit on, as opposed to it wasn't using any. It wasn't protecting us. Let's just be honest.
Wasn't the point? Yeah.
Right. But yeah, no. I think we ended up facing inboard instead of outboard after that last IED. I think it became it was mandatory that we did not face outboard anymore, at least until we get more armor. But it just didn't seem like we had a lot of it was makeshift, going down in motor pool and soldering things together. I remember Dahl and McNaughton were very big on doing that, and Savage obviously before he had passed. But yeah, we made it a mission to get these trucks as best we could armored up, more sandbags or whatnot. But that was I remember, we're no longer facing outboard. We're going to sit in the middle or face inboard, and then kind of keep your head down. As they were getting more, those IEDs were becoming more and more prevalent, and that was getting scary. So,
did you ever personally get hit?
So we were on I don't know, I would say maybe later toward the end of deployment, we were going out of Blue Diamond, and on the way back between Blue Diamond and Hurricane Point, there was a small ID that went off underneath our truck. It didn't, no injuries. I think our truck was okay, but yeah, that shook us up a little bit. It hit right underneath. It was, I'm like, shit, this is the first one I've actually got hit by. I've seen bunch of them, but yeah, that was the first one. It wasn't, like I said, it knocked us over, but nothing catastrophic by any means. So nice. Yeah, that was, just my claim there, but yeah. But I go back to what Garcia, I remember listening to Garcia's thing when he said, once you get hit by something or once you see something, it's like, did I make it or not? And if you did, keep fighting. Hearing that now, it made so much sense. And I'm like, that is very true. And only if he would have told us that back in 2004, would have been a lot more helpful. It was, I really, when he had said that, I was like, wow, that made sense. And that's when I kind of go back to the junior leadership. That was their mentality the entire time, at least with Rainmaker. It just didn't seem like they wavered ever. And they were always first and foremost worried about our, well-being ahead of their own. From Dog down, I'm sure it was the same in that platoon. It seemed you guys really tight. So yeah, that's my one thankful thing was just how unified that our groups were, especially Rainmaker, obviously with one platoon, but broken up into just 2 sections. It was good that we had that leadership at such a young Garcia was my age when I went. I'm like, that's to think about, obviously being a little older, but these guys are these, sergeants and staff sergeants are my age, so
Hmm.
that was hard to get, hard to swallow when I first came over there, but
Right.
it paid off.
The things you're describing all sound extremely stressful, especially when you don't know what the actual mission is or what was going on. Did you find yourself having a hard time like maintaining focus, or on the flip side, did you find that the stress of it sort of sharpened your focus and that you just paid attention to your specific role and then you didn't worry about it? How did you deal with all the uncertain information? Because it sounds like you didn't know what the missions were most of the time, and you were a few vehicles back, so you may not even known where you were going.
Yeah, I think everything just seemed to happen on the fly. We just, we're going to escort these people here. We're going to, aid someone here and aid, go to combat outpost one off. So it was just like, jump in, provide security when needed, get the hell out of the truck when needed, dismount, get back in. So it was a lot of that, obviously 22 years ago, just thinking back and but a lot of it was just do the fuck what you're supposed to do. Just make sure you get your, make sure to watch, make sure to watch your sector. And if need be, like within your sector, if something needs to be taken care of, you take care of it. But it was a lot of just getting in the truck, getting out of the truck, going on bug hunts or going on, patrols or whatnot. But yeah, the more so when we did those QRF, it was there wasn't anything specifically I remember doing like grabbing an evac or grabbing a casualty and taking them specifically. So a lot of it was me providing security in my
Sure.
general sector. But yeah, those bug hunts were a thing. Those were a thing.
Well, it's funny what you're describing, the fundamentals make the mission, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you just use the word bug hunt. Tell me about your bug hunt memories, man. Those are usually long operations. So.
Yeah. First one I remember getting up at obviously we get the talk of, the mission the night before, sitting around or squally or whatnot. And then the next day you get up at 2 a.m. and we're going to go post. And which was thinking about it now, yeah, we go out there, all right, we're down there door to door to door. And then come around 7 or 8 a.m. when all the kids and all the families are coming out, asking you questions, talking to you. And that's when the complacency set in. And I was, thinking back at it now, it's like, yeah, we got somewhat complacent a lot of the times. And for the most part, the bug hunts there wasn't anything major that, specifically that happened. So thank God. But yeah, I remember being out there 8 hours in the heat. That was not ideal, but necessary. But yeah, so and going into house, here and there, but specifically remember just sitting down the alleys, just posting up, making sure no one's coming in that can't come in. But yeah, they had a way of people that we were okay letting in, like the kids, and the women. They were kind of walking through in and out. But yeah, a lot of it was just making sure no one we knew that was supposed to not come in didn't come in, and then we'd mount up and go back to the hooch after about 12 hours. So it was a long day.
Do you have any specific memories of interacting with the local populace?
Yeah, a lot of it, the soccer field specifically, or just when we were on patrols, and the kids would just come by and Mister, always said for baby, and give them something, whatever you wanted, whatever they wanted, that was we gave. If they had anything that they thought was good to have, anything, like a piece of candy, anything out of an MRE. But yeah, just meeting with seeing the kids in the area after all the shit that was going on and actually interacting with. And they always had, most of them had smile. The kids had smiles on the face after, firefights and what, stuff going on the day before. It's just they come back out and it's like it was wild. It was an experience. Like when you interact with them, the kids and even males who weren't part of or maybe they were. Who knows? But they just seemed like every day was something new. Like it didn't really. If it happened the day before, the next day was, if there was nothing going on, that we needed to, make sure that the threat wasn't there. It just seemed like a normal day, just going through, interacting with the populace. And it kind of kept us grounded when we were out, it gave us a sense of purpose. And I think that's kind of what, balanced our mission out, was helping the population, but also eliminating the threat. So that balance was, I'm glad we were a part of, able to do not just one specific thing, but a multitude of different things. And I think that was beneficial, especially now, once outside the Marines, being able to understand that, conflicts everywhere. And it's just to be part of that and understand that it's not specific to an area. It's just, it's I don't know, it's hard to really explain, but it's nice that we had that ability to interact with the locals, getting understanding and whatnot.
So you bring up stand-in post for the bug hunts. If you're, it sounds like that was a lot of what you were doing. So you probably stood a lot of posts out at the governance center.
Yes.
We spend a lot of time out at the police station.
Wadi
helping them out there.
Wadi Sakron, I remember that being out there multiple times. Remember, is that what it is, the Wadi Sakron? What is it? I think it was in the Safid. I can't remember. It was like, for some reason, it was just like in this open field, and we were just that's where we did our, the houses that were more remotely located, and we'd have to go out there, and
I don't remember that name specifically, but there was a few.
Wasn't the Wadi? Maybe someone else can. Maybe I'm speaking it incorrectly, but I believe it was called the Wadi Sakron, or someone made. I don't know, but I remember that name specifically.
Okay,
being mentioned. I don't. Who knows?
I don't remember everything, so.
Same.
But no, we did a lot of stuff up I remember standing a lot of posts up at the hospital too. So, do you have any specific memories on some of those long ass posts? I have several more amusing stories coming from the police, just because the antics that those Keystone Cop level Iraqis were as they were trying to get them all pulled together.
Right. Well, I remember like in the beginning of the deployment, like we were just literally would go out and they would just be around us. They would be around a burning barrel, staying warm, and we were just driving around. They didn't seem to. We'd get calls that there was threats in the area or whatnot, and then every time we drive by, they were just sitting around a barrel like, are you guys gonna help? Like, what's the deal? It's just like they're just sitting there hanging out, like eating whatever, and it's just we're the ones driving aimlessly through the city looking for what we needed to look for. But you come across, do you see this guy? No, can't say we don't speak English or whatnot. So it was but those it was tough getting the cops, I guess, to aid and assist. But that was, I remember doing a lot of going to someone's house and we need to come and occupy this house. We'd go on the roof for a good 4 hours, just overlooking whatnot, having to have the people, hey, you need to leave the house while we come in and, lay on your ground, I guess. But it was a lot of those missions. It's seeming like we're just drop and go kind of thing. So
coming into June, a couple bigger notes, we had the governor got kidnapped.
Right.
We tried to hand over the power to the Iraqi police, Iraqi Civil Defense Corps, and that was a abysmal failure.
Yeah.
And then early part of July was when Kandi was killed.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories coming into? And then that's when things really started to kind of switch, as far as I think a lot of people agree that the insurgency became different.
Yeah.
There was a little bit more. They're going to stand 10 toes down.
Even just right before that, June 21st was when the snipers were killed. So
right. There you go.
That seemed like a more coordinated effort, something different.
Right.
Actually, you were a part of the response team, weren't you? For the snipers?
I believe we were.
Yeah. I know. I think Rainmaker did go up top to help pull together what happened, and then Sledgehammer took the bodies.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Mid-June, I would say that was when things just kind of changed, kind of like dramatic. At that point, we've been here for like 4.5 months. The enemy was adapting to us, more so, and changing on the fly, and things are becoming more, I guess, on a larger scale. Like, the IEDs were getting more, they were more creative, I guess, and it just seemed as though at that point things were just never going to end. Like it just was this long deployment of we're just going to be here doing the same thing, just going back and forth, up and down. And I think eventually, I can't remember when they said we're no longer going down Nova. Is that like sometime in June?
We never officially.
We're not as frequent.
Yeah, we never officially stopped, but the Army had a concept of things called black routes.
Right.
When either there was enough attacks on a street or whatever, and so we did kind of adopt that mentality where we would only use it when mission essential, that kind of thing.
Right.
We stopped doing. It was around June when we stopped doing the sweeps. I don't know how much you remember the early missions.
I remember the sweeps, yeah.
But the early missions was just drive up and down this road until something blows up, or until you see something that should blow up.
Right.
And then we're like, oh no, we're going to instead have LPOPs on the top of all these different buildings and posts and reinforce them. And then we'll just keep eyes on Michigan.
Right.
And at least Michigan will be safe.
Right.
We don't have to worry about going down Nova or whatever other road.
Right. Right. Yeah, and the countless nights on North Bridge. I don't think I ever was on South Bridge. I remember North Bridge specifically being on those majority of the time. When we were to stay behind. What was that one called?
Just Camp Guard.
Yeah, Camp Guard. Guard Week.
Right. Yeah. So going up there, and I remember specifically not being hungry up there, and then we'd say, hey. And a couple of the Hodges would come up, bring us some chicken, some pita. Now thinking back at it, it was really good at the time. And I'm like, why did I eat that? Knowing that they're coming up, allowing us to eat that kind of specific food. And I'm like, it was good. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, instead of the MREs that were getting tired, I'm like, yeah, let's get some good pita bread and some good chicken. And like, it was, then you kind of see how they were preparing it on the street. And it's like, maybe I should not have been eating this stuff. But yeah, but I got out unscathed. It was good food. It was good local food, and we're not going to go to a restaurant, so it was nice to get some of the locals to bring whatever they could. So that was good. It was good.
I know many of us had fairly long gastrointestinal distress.
And I don't remember when the showers in the were we allowed to take showers in there, or do we have another location? I specifically can't remember.
We could shower. We weren't supposed to get our face wet.
That's what it was. Okay,
it was kind of shower your body. I hated washing my camis in the washer, so I would like take a shower with my camis on, and then rinse off the soap with my camis on, and then take off my camis, and then wash my pits, wash my bits, and then get the fuck out.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah.
I mean, you couldn't flush the toilets. You could use it for a piss, but you couldn't.
That's right. Yeah.
You had to go out if you're going to take a shit, you had to go out to the porta shitters. So,
and there was a moment when I think there was like a 2-week lull. No one could come on from to clean those things. So that shit was high.
That's because he was no longer with us.
Right. That's very true. That's very true. And that was an experience just being there, let alone going outside. But yeah, that was something. So we had to change the way we did things. I think. Not having to really, maybe it was beneficial, but not having to really do a normal workup, and then just shifting over to Iraq. I didn't really have time to to think about much outside of that once I get to the fleet and I'm already training. So just everything when I was over there, I think it just kind of forced me to, grow the fuck up immediately. And just, regardless of how long, I didn't have that ability to second guess anything. So,
Sure.
So when I'm doing these missions and I'm just providing whatever that call for, that's what I had to do. I didn't really think twice about it. And I don't think I was ever beyond, fuck, I'm not doing this, because that never really crossed my mind, but I was always the first one to be like, Thibeault, yeah, get the hell out there. You're the first one out, but at the same, it wasn't like it wasn't a punish, but it just seemed like it at that point, it just seemed like normal. It didn't seem like I had to, because I didn't have that normal workup. That it just all the stuff that I trusted in the leadership to do the right to make sure that I was going to be okay, and yeah, just do what you're supposed to do, and then you're going to be fine. So it ended up being true.
You're describing a perfect junior Marine, though. I mean, that's like,
I mean, it's true. Right.
Shut the fuck up. Do what I say. Do it now.
Right.
You know, you'll understand later, but right now.
Right. Right. That's yeah. And I think that, and that was never. We were never like, yeah. Before we got we got the typical first boots in the fleet, but once we get over there, that shit like went out the window. There was none of that. It just was everyone's here to do one thing. I've never been in this position. I'm going to treat you as, my equal. And it just seemed like that was such a common thing. Even though the guys, there's some guys that wanted to, guys that weren't leaving the wire, like the chow hall, I remember the chow hall gun. He had some moments where I think Iraqi went in there a couple of times and chewed him out. He's like, yeah, we're not opening this chow hall for you guys. And Iraqi went in there and just flipped out on him. And then we ended up getting chow that night. So that was kind of cool.
Surprise.
But yeah, we had, like I said, the leadership and like even from the top down was just, phenomenal. So I think that was a big, if not the only reason why we got back as many guys as we did, because of just how, like I said, just incredible. So can't really thank them enough, or just in general, just want to be, letting them know that's a big reason, just whoever's in charge of any specific section or any platoon or any even squad, that's where you listened, and that's where you got back. So I'm happy for that. So
what's good. I mean, it sounds like your leaders earned your trust pretty easily as well.
Yeah.
Because I have heard stories from other people, not really even necessarily from your platoon or even from our company, where people didn't feel that way. They felt like their leaders were hesitant, scared, not helpful, not leading, right? Just not doing your job. And so that's good that it doesn't sound like you had that experience.
Yeah, I would say that was definitely not. That was one of the one thing that, obviously everything sucked over there at certain times, but if it, just on a really micro level, like that squad leader, they were just, they had that workup before we got there, but just that there was never any, obviously we questioned, stupid shit if it came down, but it didn't seem, we did more stupid shit our second deployment to Iraq than we did the first time. There was a lot more guys that were more gung-ho the second time, but I think this was just getting everybody the fuck home quick. And I think that's kind of what everyone's mentality was, at least in Rainmaker. That's where I spend the majority of my time, if not all my time. So I'm really only speaking for that.
Well, that's a good question. Did you ever get pulled and tasked to go with any other platoons? I know that did happen to some people.
Are you talking about while we were in? Oh no, nah, just as it was a working party. It was mainly I was with Rainmaker. But like I said, when we lost Dan and Hurley, we had to revamp the truck. So I think I went from Hodges to Aponte.
Yeah.
For my squad leader, and it was funny when being with Aponte, he just seemed to have everything. Like he just got gear. I don't know where he get it from. He just got it, and like it was like it was like. Yeah, this random shit all the time. I'm like, man, what did you get this? Oh, I just found it somewhere. I acquired it. But he was a good guy to have as far as a resourceful human being. Like it was nice. Yeah. So. And I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you remember any of the combat replacements coming in? Because that was the other strategy that we had, besides reconfiguring the company, where we kind of redistributed some of the 0331s, 51s, 52s to other platoons.
We had a few. If you shout out some names, I will remember, I believe. And I do remember that. I remember the combat, just not by name. I mean, not by face.
Yours would be Fox, Brian Fox.
Yeah, I remember Fox.
Oh, I can see his face.
Kind of was he a tall, lanky guy?
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, ours was Clark, Martinez, and Adams.
Yep.
Those were for Sledgehammer, but it was Fox, and because he was the driver for Garcia, and then I can't do it.
Okay. I can't either.
Yeah. But
I remember the replacements. Not personally on that level, but
Sure.
I do remember we had the replacements come over. And it's just, you remember being there for 7 months, but you just remember only the specifics of those 7 months. At least for me, nothing that was. And one good thing about Ramadi, and I remember one of the prompts that I was really interested in what I read is what you want people to remember. What you want people to remember most about your deployment. I'm like, after going on these two reunions, I don't really think I want anybody who doesn't understand to make them understand, kind of thing. And it's like, it just felt like this is more inclusive to us. And I feel like we had something that it just didn't seem like anybody else really needed to know, because they weren't, they had their own different parts of Iraq, but for some reason Ramadi seemed like the bastard part of each deployment was 2-4's Ramadi experience, and I don't think that matches anything else, and it's impossible to tell anybody what it was. If they weren't there. So to be as cliche as possible, I really take that to heart as far as that, and I always remember that, or it'll always stick with me, is that no one else really needs to understand. That's just, I keep that, and I think we all keep that in some way, shape, or form.
I think that's a very common sentiment, is
Right.
that, at least I've heard it echoed back to me now a couple of times, probably a dozen times, that even when you try to tell the stories, people don't believe it. And then
No.
you could probably tell 20 stories, but even if you just told one, they would be like, nah, that didn't happen. That's not real.
Right.
I mean, even simple stuff, like you're talking about the trucks not having armor, and you were out there putting pieces of wood, sandbags, and whatever piece of metal you could find on the ground, and just picking a welder up and putting it on like something out of a Mad Max movie.
Right.
It really changes. People are like, there's no way the military wouldn't do that to you. They'd send you with real stuff. And it's like, no,
Right. No, absolutely not.
It didn't happen. Yeah.
No. But I was going to actually bring this up too. I want to say that we were, for whatever reason, we went to that hotel and we just lit that thing up. Is that?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has mentioned that or whatnot, but I just remember specifically going to that hotel and just sitting there in a 180-degree circle or 180-degree, and just lighting that thing up repeatedly, so if you guys can remember that.
So that was an interesting day where multiple platoons it was basically Golf Company went out, they got hit, and then some kind of IED went off in front of the command element. They were hemmed up. MAP 3 went out to back them up. I believe you guys went out to back them up. And then we all ended up, finally, we went way north. I don't know where we were going exactly. I don't remember, but I remember being way north and coming around the opposite side of the OP hotel. And they were like, yeah, we were taking fire from multiple windows. And everybody was like, okay, well, then we're not going to clear the building. We're just going to shoot the building.
Yep.
And you're right. That's a perfect way to describe it, is everyone in the company who was out and the two Bradleys.
That's right. That's right.
The whole building.
Yeah. We lit that thing. Yeah, that thing got lit up pretty good. And I'm just like, I remember that's another one of those things where we're just going to go out there. This is your mission, to go sit there in front of the hotel. And if you see anything, you have permission now to light it up. So I don't think it was almost like Target. We just, B0 our weapons or whatnot, but it seemed like, okay. We haven't shot anything in a while. So let's just light up this hotel. So that was one of those specific moments, but so it's hard to, these memories coming back 22 years later. It's hard to believe that it was that long ago. It seems almost like yesterday. And then, obviously the reunions we've had recently were, just great. And I always not struggled with, as much. I mean, like I said, everyone fought that different war while they were there for whatever. Any guy there had a different perspective and different understanding and different mission. But getting back, seeing guys going out into the reunion and seeing how things, it didn't seem like any time had passed since the last time we saw him back in 2004. And I think that's a testament to this battalion in general. It's almost like that. I don't say, obviously it is a brotherhood, but just no one's going to know that. And no one has an idea of what that is. And that's just something that really resonates more than any other thing in Ramadi, is just the knowing that everyone has that same mentality. It seems like just happy to be, obviously different people are going through different things, but just happy to have that love and mutual respect for everyone who was there. And it really showed a lot this last reunion, well, the guys that were there. So I was really happy with that.
Do you keep in close contact with anybody since 2004?
Yeah, me and Ackles and Akers, and my friend Dean Kogata from Fox. A couple of the guys here and there, but nothing. Nothing is. I talked to Forky here and there. But yeah, just like I said, it's nice to go back to the reunions, and it's almost like we're still back there in 2004. Nothing's changed. We're back at least in our enlistment. So yeah, it's. Things get busy moving on with, family and whatnot. So but it's nice to have that, and always knowing that that's there, that brotherhood's there always, no matter where you are. And, so that's good.
Well, rewinding you back 22 years, just a little bit, you're kind of talking about winding down and coming home anyway. Do you remember what it felt like to get out of Hurricane Point and wind down and the coming home?
Yeah, so that was where I would say that was when I started being like, I don't want to leave the wire anymore. Because we were like 2 weeks out, and then I think it was 2-5 came and replaced.
Yes,
they were our replacement. So they had that early party come over, and I think they were taking volunteers who'd want to go take out 2-5 on the trucks. And obviously, I was Thibeault, you got to go because you're a boot, you got to go. But there were some times you're like, no, Thibeault, no, we're gonna. Thibeault, you don't have to go on this one. And so I'm like, oh shit, really? And so, no, but it was, I think at that point, I'm like, I just want to get the hell home. And I figured we've done enough, but at the same time, we had to pass on what we knew, and we had to make sure that the next unit coming in was going to be well taken care of. And that's kind of what we had to do. And I think I remember heading over to, what's the name of that base?
They called it Junction City.
Junction City, that's right.
But it was a later renamed Camp Ramadi.
That's right. Right. Clever. So yeah, we got in 7 tons, and I want to say that 7 ton we were on, broke down or stopped moving halfway there. And I think everyone just like puckered up, and they're like, what the fuck? It was just like, all right. So yeah, that was our last like moment where leaving, Hurricane Point, and that became real. And I was like, okay. And then we finally get there, and it's like there for like a week, maybe
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So that was a nice transition. And that's kind of I remember listening to you guys talk. I don't remember who specifically, but that was the only transition we really got.
That was going to be my next question is, right. Do you remember getting any transition whatsoever, even when we got back to Pendleton?
No, because I remember getting back, and I think Kennedy had said, I think it was right around, almost closer to like coming up to Thanksgiving. He's like, yeah, we're going to give you guys that extra 2 days off and to kind of regroup. And then we're back to training in Okinawa. But there was never any, let's take a week to unwind. Let's go talk to some therapists, or let's go talk to some, whatever. No, there was none of that. It's like, kind of on your own, and I was pretty lucky not to have any specific personal issues, so I was very lucky at that. But at the same time, I know there was guys that were struggling and still do, and I think I guess that just was maybe not a stigma, but it wasn't part of our transition back as far as that goes, at least in my opinion.
And did you live in the barracks when you first got back?
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of remember what barracks life was like when you guys first got back?
I do. I live with Ackles. It was we were pretty close to going on Christmas break. Obviously, we're a couple months out, but it just seemed. So I remember, obviously when Jamie McLeod, he was hanging around as we were leaving. That's the last time I think I saw him. Anyway, but yeah, it wasn't normal, and obviously that's my first deployment, so I didn't have anything to go back on, and any recollection of what it's like to come back in normal deployment. But I don't think it was like the best environment, just to be thrusted back into barracks life, and then here's some free time. So yeah, the guys, people that I hung out with or whatnot, yeah, it was, drinking here and there and just going out, but obviously fighting and not getting arguments out in town here and there. People who just didn't understand, I just think it was it wasn't the best transition, but I think it was necessary because we were still in the midst of war. And I think we had to kind of start training for the next thing. So didn't really have time to, unwind per se.
Well, so that's a good transition to my next question. Then we'll see where you want to end up. You're now a salty combat Marine, man. You're the senior. You're gonna get your own boots. Now I know you guys went to Okinawa next, and you eventually did another Iraq deployment. But when you started getting your own Marines and becoming a leader, kind of what did you talk to them about, especially about the Ramadi deployment?
That was another thing where it didn't seem like there was. It was almost like that new crop of Marines who, and they had this different. Because I remember, was it Polar and Dotson came? They came in right as before we got back, so they were kind of newish, but not fully new. But when we got the new Marines, they almost kind of seemed like his leadership changed completely, and everyone was kind of in that. And I think that if the same leadership had stayed, maybe things would have been a lot more tight knit. But it seemed like everything got new. So everyone who transferred over from weapons or from golf to weapons, I think Bronzy came over to weapons. So and going right to Okinawa, there really didn't seem to be that. Yeah, we can, I don't know. It was different. I think it was just a lot different with that new group coming in than it was for us because we had such a clear mission that we're going to Iraq. So there's no fucking around. You got to do this. And then going to Okinawa seemed like almost a vacation. And I think that kind of became almost like not complacent, but it became like, all right, we're not going to a combat zone. We're going to be, we eased up a lot. And I think it was just, we kept a lot of that Ramadi stuff personal to the guys that were there. Didn't really kind of we got salty. Like, yeah, we were there, you weren't. And then, I think that it changed a little bit. Like they respected that, but at the same time, it became it started becoming a tighter, 2-4 became a different, especially in Okinawa where younger Marines were hanging out with older Marines more normally, I guess. But it just seemed like it wasn't really much of a, that transition was, I guess, different than my transition into the fleet right away. So, it's kind of, but our second deployment to Iraq was that was like, I mixed a lot of those things up with with Ramadi, but that second deployment, it was it seemed like half the guys that didn't go to the first one really wanted to get action. And it's we're looking at them, sometimes why are we assaulting this place? We don't need to do it. It just seemed like there was a lot of guys the guys that had already been there and the ones that weren't, the older, some of the staff NCO really wanted to get some kind of, I'm no, let's not do this. And they kind of overzealous a lot. So I think it's just a really very not strange enlistment, but a very unique one. Obviously, anybody can say that, but it's just from one extreme to the next, or one extreme to not extreme to back to extreme. So yeah, it was a fluctuation of enlistment, of my enlistment at least. So you kind of had to do what you had to do, and I think after Ramadi, everyone was just kind of are we ever going to get to that point again where we have to? And that never happened. Obviously, that second trip to Barwana was nothing compared to what it was in Ramadi. So,
I mean, yeah, it just other than if you were in Fallujah in 2004,
right?
That there's really not very many other places. There's a couple spots in Afghanistan, but nowhere else in Iraq that had the same level of intense conflict and combat, especially not sustained days of combat and contact.
Right. And I think obviously when you hear stories about other people's deployments to Iraq, they don't know what it was like. Obviously, unless in 2-4 and unless that was there, they're just not going to have that same understanding about what we personally went through, and that's kind of. Sure. That's okay. I'm content with that as far as where I keep that, and I'm happy. I think a lot of the guys may feel the same way, or just doing stuff like the pod you're doing is just really, I think it helps more than you think. These guys are able to be themselves, and you guys make that a valuable contribution to that well-being of people. And I just think this is something that's needed. And regardless of anybody, if you want people to understand, hey, this is what we went through. No, I think it's just guys haven't been able to talk like this in a long, long time. And I think it's not so much emotions, but it's also trying to make sense of what you saw and trying to put that into perspective where, like I said,
sure.
The war you fought, the war Blake fought,
Yep.
the war I fought, completely different, as you can attest. So you start remembering these things. I'm like, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Does that make me a shitty fucking Marine? It's like, that's my mentality. It's like, or if I didn't feel enough, like I didn't get enough, like I coming back like almost like unscathed, but am I missing something? Should I have gotten something? That's, you guys put that at ease. And I think that's really, really awesome. So I really appreciate how comfortable this is, like I'd said. So
nice.
That helps. Yeah.
Good. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of put a bow on it anyway, but I'll ask, is there anything you want to go over that we didn't talk about?
No, I think this is it's really good. I just appreciate, like I said, appreciate everything. And I hope this really benefits. Everyone seems to have different things they're talking about and different memories. And, this, like the seamless transitions, like I said, for you guys and everybody else. And it's been a really good thing. And I'm hoping more and more, even maybe outside of weapons, if this continues to go beyond. I'm not sure what your plans are beyond this, but keep this up.
I would like to tell you there's some evil master plan that we have made. We made a lot of plans to launch, and then now it's just kind of taking its own legs, to be quite honest. Well, we didn't even know how many episodes we were ever going to get through, and we've already exceeded our expectations.
Amazing.
So it'll go where it goes, and we'll go as long as people want to talk, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hats off. And I think Blake was saying, like, pretty soon, obviously the people you reached out to, and you're just going to hoping that people come back for more and more, which, it'd be nice. It'd be kind of cool to do like almost like a round table, get a bunch of guys and to sit down if they want to do like a, group setting and do this kind of like those stories will really start coming.
Oh yeah. You start getting some real interesting shit. And we'll do that at some point, I think.
Yeah.
Too.
This is so cool, man. So, I just want to thank you guys very much for everything. This has been a real treat.
If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe for future episodes on your favorite podcast service.